Gentlemen, I'm glad that you're here. I've called you here as all commentators online have been called this week to commentate as non-New Yorkers on congestion pricing. What are your takes?
Um,
Are you
I
familiar with congestion pricing?
I hate to say that that I agree with the citizenry of Britain because I'm an American. We've had a long-standing feud since about 1774, but I'm with them. Congestion pricing is stupid, dumb bullshit.
I have no clue what it is or how it works.
It's
I
just
haven't driven into New York in I don't know how at least a couple of years. So this
It-
is news to me.
it's just more tax. Do you own a
It is
car?
more tax.
Do you drive into New York? You're taxed.
Okay.
Now,
So
in all
they're just
fairness,
becoming an extension of New Jersey.
in all fairness, it's not the entirety of New York. It's a very small section of New York.
The most
that you can't
congested
drive in.
sections, I'm guessing.
It's like the lower side of Manhattan.
That was the section I worked in. Damn it.
But it is $9 a day
That's
below 60th Street.
ugh.
Can I get taxed that if any of my servers are hosted there? Like I have backups and like backup servers and backup servers, but I don't
Just another reason for New Yorkers to not want to live in New York anymore. This has been going on for of New York City driving New Yorkers out of New York. This has been going on for years. Louis Rossman got driven out.
I'm really of two minds about it because I've seen the videos since it's gone into effect, and like the streets are drivable. Like there is a marked decrease number of cars on the road.
Yeah, so what are you supposed to do? Now take public transit in, and they did nothing to increase their public transit?
That is where I think ultimately my favor's gonna lie. If they use this money that they get to actually improve, because I will say, because of its due to its size and the amount of people it services, New York does have good public transit. They do.
Aren't people like pushing other people in front of trains and the subway in New York City?
I feel like stories like that are so over-reported.
I don't know. It only has to happen once for it to be a big deal. I don't know, getting pushed in front of a train, it's like...
Or like a whole city booing Santa.
I mean,
look, that happened at an Eagles game, and he was drunk because the original Santa didn't show up, so they pulled a guy in a Santa costume out of the crowd.
What city did Hitchbot make it to before he got terminated early?
That was Philadelphia.
Yeah. Are you talking about the hitchhiking robot?
Yeah.
It was Philly. That robot
probably you're getting
all
mugged.
across Europe. Didn't make it out of Philly.
Yeah,
we fucked that robot up.
Teach it to hitchhike.
South Philly, like Elmo had that goddamn the legs the next day. Like what the shit?
But Philly, here, I don't know if I've ever told you this story about Philly. But let me tell you a little story because I grew up in Philly. There was a guy. I remember hanging out with my cousin, and we're standing on his stoop, and we had just gone down the Nifty 50s. This is such a Philly coded story. We went down the Nifty 50s. We were on the corner of 10th and Reed, and all of a sudden I hear this yelling, and it was like this old, I was a nerdy little kid, so it was like this older English yelling, and down the street, I think it was 10th Street, comes this man. And my cousin says, "Oh, that's Caesar." And I was like, "What? Who's Caesar?" Apparently Caesar was this elderly gentleman who was a little crazy, who thought he was Caesar. And he walked the streets of Philadelphia shouting proclamations from Caesar. And on this particular day, a guy spit on Caesar. And then Caesar proceeded to rant about how dare this man spit upon the sacred cheek of Caesar. And that was basically what he complained about all day as he wandered the streets of Philadelphia for the entire day. I would hear him periodically throughout the day talking about the spit that landed on Caesar's cheek.
I'm just kind of imagining like a particularly like bad historical trip.
Kind of felt like that. Anyway,
welcome to Philadelphia.
Welcome to another episode of today's theme.
If you're a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you probably got some of those references.
Oh yeah,
to Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. We welcome native Philadelphians here. Big time. I am your host, Mara. Joining me as always is Ashdales.
Ew.
And Lostronaut.
Hello.
And today our theme is I wonder if
why.
Wonder how.
Wonder how. Wonder why.
I wonder how. I wonder why.
Basically,
things that you've wondered about that you were too lazy to pull out your phone and Google. Hopefully, maybe we can solve these questions with our collective intelligence ? Or Google them finally so they stop plaguing you.
Mine are going to be a little bit more esoteric in nature.
I can start us off with a simple one.
Okay.
I wonder why butter doesn't fucking go bad.
It does, though?
It can spoil, but I think the high fat content is kind of part of what keeps it, but that's a good question because fat will spoil after a certain amount of time.
Because think about this for a second, all right? Butter is made out of milk, right? It's just whipped milk. So explain to me how I cannot leave a glass of milk on the counter for more than a day, but I could take a stick of butter and leave it on the counter for a week and be buttering my toast the entire time.
Tried this, haven't you?
Like Lost said, it's the fat content because milk is mostly water. It's like all water.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing when you beat you beat the fat out of the milk, and then you've got this milk fat, and then you've got like the leftover water, and you actually squeeze a lot of that out when you make the butter. So
yeah, it's
the whole thing is you're squeezing a lot of the moisture out if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why it's got an actually low like water count, like water concentration.
I've seen Amish people.
So yeah, so there's like nowhere for like any bacteria to grow.
Because it's just fat.
That's why oil doesn't go bad.
Interesting.
I mean, it can spoil, but it's normally it takes it's either a specific temperature or a lot longer. Yeah, I thought that was the reason anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just because it's the fat content.
That's so wild to me. That I guess it makes sense. This is not helping the theory that oxygen is the reason that we die. Because if you're removing the water, you're basically removing the oxygen.
All biologicals oxidize. We all rust in the end.
It's called metabolism in living creatures.
All of your cells are on fire all the time. Forever.
Did you know a qualifying function for life is that you have to poop? Did you know that?
I did. Is that like the biological Turing test? What?
Like quantify to quantify as life, you have to excrete.
Snails poop on their heads.
They do.
Okay. Okay, but why?
Randomly saw that fact that the poop tract goes up into the shell and then like circles back around to exit on top of their own heads. No idea why. Thanks, evolution.
That why would that be evolutionarily advantageous?
I think I know why. I think I know why. And it's because if you're a snail and you always have a shell on your back, you never really can tell how big or how much of the shell or how much of your backside the shell is going to cover. So that they're not pooping in their own shell, they poop on top of their head.
That doesn't stop evolution. You've seen the boars whose tusks grow into their own skull.
Oh, that's fair.
Why would evolution do that? Why didn't that just get bred out? Or, why didn't they just all die because their tusks grew into their own brains?
I feel like at some point they're supposed to break those tusks off, though.
They are. I believe that's typically either broken off during like essentially like rutting season, like competing for mates, and I believe what I don't know. I'm not real read up on boars, honestly. That might be the only thing I can think of, or that I might know about, and I could be wrong about that, honestly.
All I know that wild pigs are a real problem.
Yeah. That's why, like, what was it, Texas? Where it's just like, you could just shoot them?
You could just shoot them. Yeah, you could just shoot them.
Is that the origin of the of 50 to 60 wild boars on my lawn?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Something about an AR-15 protecting my children from the roaming packs of wild boars on my property.
Like,
yes.
That's a whole, like, subset of, like, videos where people just, like, go, like, hunting at night and have, like, have thermal sights, and just, like, there's just videos of people mowing down, like, packs of wild boar.
Zero pork 30.
Zero pork 30. Going dark.
Are the playing cards just bacon strips?
I don't like how my snort just hung out there. You guys are assholes.
Sir, we got sausage.
We got sausage.
But yeah, also, you don't need to refrigerate ketchup because of the vinegar in it.
I still do
No.
for the flavor.
Apparently, the same constitutes for mayonnaise. Apparently, mayonnaise mayonnaise is pretty shelf stable.
Yeah, because of the vinegar, because of how acidic vinegar is.
I don't trust it.
Yeah, because like homemade mayonnaise, you're supposed to like leave out for a couple days.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because it's just because the vinegar is acidic, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think anything can really live in vinegar.
Yeah, nothing like it disinfects itself.
Can you use vinegar as a antiseptic, as a disinfectant?
You can use it as a cleaning agent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
That's why you put vinegar in your washing machine to clean it out.
That's right. That's right.
Or your Keurig.
Or what have you.
Am I the only one who likes just taking shots of vinegar?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I figured.
I've heard
to dwell on that.
I've heard people doing like the apple cider vinegar. But like, do you just do like white vinegar?
Yeah.
Both of those, the smell
like
for both of those
vinegar?
vinegars is so pungent for me. I can't. It's ugh.
I love
It's
the
too
taste of
much.
vinegar. It's so good.
Now I like malt vinegar on fries.
Yeah, I like vinegar things on or with other things, but just doing a shot of it.
I'm not I'm not just gonna do like a shot of Caesar salad in the morning.
Although I don't have much room to speak because I used to do shots of the Papa John's garlic butter sauce.
Oh God. Oh.
I forgot you mentioned
Oh.
that before too, and I forgot about that.
It's not bad.
What is wrong with you?
Ma'am, you do shots of vinegar. I don't want to hear
I-
anything out of your
I-
mouth.
I have the pepperoncini peppers they send. I will take that and dip that in the butter and the garlic.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, like that's fine. You're dipping a pepper into a dip, like that's, but like you're just you're breaking that seal and just throwing it back.
Yeah.
Honestly, that
Wow.
garlic butter is the only reason sometimes I will eat the crust. I know I'm a heretic.
It's the only reason why Papa John's like does any sort of business because their pizza is garbage. Yeah, I said
Their
that.
stuffed crust isn't bad.
The Papa John's pizza is it's the lowest tier for me.
Oh, really? I think it's better than Domino's.
I can't stand Papa John's pizza.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. It is
Domino's is
a
like-
pizza.
Domino's is barely. I barely consider it food.
Sometimes I think it might, like, to an extent, and this is gonna sound a little weird, but depending on like your history, maybe. Like for instance, like the Domino's, like the $5. I think they're $6 now, but like the 555 deal got my friends, my family for years. That'd be like a regular thing because you could get like 3 medium pizzas for like $15 in tip.
Oh yeah. No, that's a that's a Domino's thing.
Now
Yeah, the
I'm not going.
$5.99.
I'm not going to go out on a limb and say Domino's pizza is good, but I am going to say it is pizza. It is perfectly serviceable pizza. I am happy paying what they charge for it. I'm not going to recommend it to anyone who actually likes pizza. I'm not a sociopath.
As far as like the chain fast food pizza goes, Domino's is at the top of my list.
It's probably the second for me. I do have a 1, 2, 3, and Domino's
Who's your
is
number one?
definitely 2. Pizza Hut. I'm gonna be honest. It's
What?
Pizza Hut, but,
Okay.
like, okay, they have like the original stuffed crust pizza.
Have you
and there's
had Papa
just-
John's stuffed crust?
I don't think I have. No,
You need to. It's really good.
I mean I'll have to do that at some point.
Didn't I get a Papa John's pizza at your house one night?
I do not recall.
I feel like I came over and was fucking starving and ordered a Papa John's pizza. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember.
The only thing I like from Papa John's, and this was old Papa John's, when Papa John was actually part of Papa John's, was the cheesy bread. It was just a 12-inch pie with garlic and cheese and
Yeah,
no sauce.
yeah, and
do
they
have
cut
good cheesy
they
bread.
cut the whole pie into those strips.
Yeah. I don't know what
Yeah.
happened, but I got an order of cheesy bread one time. Not recently, but like after the whole Papa John fiasco. And they changed their recipe, and it was not as good as it was.
Yeah, I feel like they did that with Wawa hoagies.
Oh, they absolutely did.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wawa, like they used to like. Well, here's the thing. Here's my theory. They used to have delis in a lot of their convenience stores. They're not delis anymore. Like they don't
no, they
sell.
haven't been delis
So
for years.
so they just get the same lunch meat that all the other restaurants do from the same suppliers. So it all kind of tastes the same. And they always leaned real heavy on the Amoroso rolls. I don't think they use them anymore
they
now.
don't.
though.
No, they don't. They've
But
used
like
it
that
for
was
years.
always kind of a this is an okay roll, but it's not propping up the sandwich. But like I swear years ago, but the meat was a lot better and the bread
yeah.
was probably okay, but in general it was a better sandwich. And at some point, the meat just kind of stopped being good.
The cheese at Wawa now, it is some of the most disgusting shit imaginable. I will have a sandwich, and if you leave that sandwich for like a day, the cheese liquefies.
Ugh. I don't
Yeah.
tend to ever like let a prepared sandwich sit. So
I mean, like, sometimes you order and like you fill up on like the chips or whatever that you got, and like so you just throw the sandwich in the fridge. And like I come to it the next day and like the cheese is liquefied because of like the mayonnaise or some shit. Like it's so fucking gross. All their sandwiches are fucking disgusting.
They
Oh,
serve
I'm
they serve pizzas now.
by getting rid of their
yeah, well,
burgers,
their pizzas give me the runs.
Oh, they got rid of the burgers.
at least the ones
Shit.
that I've been to, every time I've gone in the last few months, I've been like, I wonder if they've added the burgers back in. Nope, no burgers.
Really, I was just about to get a burger last night.
Yeah, it might depend on the location, but like the ones that I've been
Yeah.
going to, they just like don't have burgers on the menu anymore. So I just
I
get
wonder if they just weren't
burritos.
popular enough.
I actually do kind of like their burritos.
I don't think I've ever had their burritos.
They're not bad.
They're not bad.
They're not Chipotle or like Cali Tort, but they're not bad.
I wouldn't ever go to Chipotle because I hate Chipotle. Because every time I've gone to Chipotle, it's gotten me sick. Every single time.
Well, it's Chipotle.
Yeah.
I think that's a feature, not a bug.
It's every single time. For anybody out there who's wondering why Chipotle gets you sick, it's their supply chain. Because each franchise has a different supply chain.
Yep.
Yeah, so
because they source a lot of their stuff locally.
yeah, so they used to be on the McDonald's supply chain where it was consistent across the entire company. So if you wanted to get food, order in food for your restaurant, you had to go through like the supply chain, and it was very consistent all of the time with high like food safety. And then they got off of that supply chain and went source it yourselves, and now everyone gets sick every time they go there.
I don't think I've eaten from a Chipotle in 4 years. I don't think there was one anywhere near me until maybe very recently. Or is that a Qdoba? I don't remember.
I don't know.
There's both. There's a Qdoba and a Cali Tort, and a Chipotle.
There's suddenly a Panda Express that used to be a parking lot.
I don't understand why Panda Express and PF Chang's. I'm going on a rant here. PF Chang's. If you enjoy PF Chang's, get out of my face. All right. I would rather order Chinese food from some podunk hole in the wall than step foot into a PF Chang's. It's garbage food. And they dress it up to be like, ooh, fancy Chinese cuisine. No, it's garbage.
The hole in the wall place probably
Hate
actually
it.
has actual Chinese people working there, making your food.
The hole in the wall place is probably actually good.
It is good. It is PF Chang's it's garbage. It's
I
so
don't think
bad.
I've ever had them.
You're not missing anything.
I'm not really like I'm not gonna say Panda. Like again, Panda Express it's Panda Express. It's what it's cheap, Americanized, franchise Chinese food. It's not.
So that's what
like-
PF Chang's is. It's just
Okay.
it's instead of cheap, it's expensive Americanized Chinese food.
Oh, is this what you would refer to as a
dine-in experience.
sit down restaurant?
Yeah.
I immediately thought when you said PF Chang's, I immediately thought, were they a buffet chain for a while?
No.
I know that they went through like a redesign at some point. I don't know if they were a buffet, but they definitely redesigned like their menu. They were crappy beforehand too.
Oh, I love a Chinese buffet. That's probably why I get sick as often as I do when I
I
do.
don't see many of them in these days.
Well, I think they went away after the recent dark times.
Yeah, because
I
they're
don't think a
just
lot of them
they're just
survived.
germ collection spots
Yeah.
that you stick a spoon into.
Mm-hmm.
This is me, an Asian, trying to get his money worth. I chuck a huge chunk of meat.
I went to Fogo to Chow, and they tried to get me. They tried to distract me with that salad bar. I was like, get out of my face. You know what I'm here for.
To get back on topic, um,
Yeah.
this is like more of a esoteric question, but like I always wondered why, like because I read a whole bunch of manga and manhwa, which is basically same pronunciation, Japanese,
I was going to say, I
Korean.
swear to God, you just said the same word.
It's almost literally the same spelling, but instead of HWA for the Korean one, it's HUA for the Chinese one.
Okay. Sure.
It's the same pronunciation. Japanese, Korean, and Chinese comics. But I always wondered why, like the main character archetypes in them, like especially like the Korean manhwas, like why every single author has to make their main character a complete asshole. But like the author always tries to play the character off as cool. But they're just an asshole.
Wait, I might actually have an answer for this. Are we talking about specifically Korean stories?
Specifically Korean comics.
I think that is a cultural trait within the men of the society. Because I remember, like, I had a friend who went over there. She taught English in Japan for a couple of years, and then she went and taught English in Korea. And she said the men in Korea were such dicks. Like, they were such chauvinists and just so sexist that, and they thought nothing of it. Like, they figured that was just the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I figured it's some sort of cultural thing, but like, I just like, it's frustrating, like how much like they just try to play it off as like, oh, he's so cool that he's just being a complete just dickhole ass face.
It kind of sounds like they never got out of, because like we had that phase in our media where like edgy edgelord dickish characters were what you saw. That was what sold. Those were the protagonists that people wanted stories about. And we got out of that. We grew out. I mean, it was what, like mid 2000s. Seems like they never got past it.
Yeah, because I noticed that trend, and then like there's the Chinese trend of all their main characters have to be perfect from the start, no matter what. It's like just the trait of Chinese storytelling, which is why there was a whole controversy when Kung Fu Panda came out, and like there were a bunch of like Chinese people that want like, how do the Americans make a better Chinese story than Chinese people?
Conflict.
Because your characters aren't perfect. Because in the American media, the characters aren't perfect. They're flawed. They have to work through their issues.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the first couple of seasons of the Next Generation Star Trek, Roddenberry was still kind of very much at the helm, and he had he didn't want personal conflict. And his whole thing was like, people have evolved beyond that. Like, people have evolved beyond like office politics and pettiness, and that creates interesting storytelling in a lot of cases. Like, that conflict is what drives, in some cases, character development and all that, and you kind of can't do a whole lot with it without that.
Mm-hmm.
No, when your characters start off perfect. I mean, I hate
no one's going to identify with them.
Yeah. And I hate to bring it up as an example, because in some ways the character is really good, and in other ways they just made choices with her that just don't understand. But Rey from the latest Star Wars trilogy,
yeah,
she really didn't have to suffer or overcome a whole lot.
She was just perfect at everything from the start. Because that was the issue. Is like there was no character arc. There was only a character line.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of everything else that was wrong, just so wrong with those movies.
Well,
But
they had 3 separate directors, multiple different writers, and no one had a cohesive thought bond between
and
any of them.
that was really the biggest problem when they switched horses after, because it was what, who the director of the first one was
JJ?
JJ, and then they got what, Whedon
Ryan?
for the second,
No, Ryan Johnson.
Johnson for the second, and then back to JJ for the third.
And like Ryan Johnson kind of like wrapped stuff up at the end of 2, at the end of his movie, and so like then they brought JJ in, and he was like, "What do I do here?"
Not only did he wrap things up, but some of the plot lines that JJ had started in The Force Awakens, Johnson had just completely closed the book on. So then JJ comes back on 3, and they're like, and are on what is it? Oh God,
9.
Skywalker Rise.
Rise
Wait,
or
what is
the-
it? Rise of Skywalker.
Rise
Yeah.
of Skywalker.
Ugh. And like, it was so mishmashed and cut together. What a disservice! It could have been so much better.
I had like there were so many problems with those 3 movies. One of the big choices that I did not like that they made, and I have no idea why. And this is I wonder why. I wonder why they tried to make the lightsabers have mass. Like they were struggling. Like they would like swing them around like they were like actual swords and not like beams of light.
Yeah, and that harkens back to the original trilogy. In this was particularly true for New Hope. Lucas gave the direction that they're heavy, that you should wield them like they're heavy. Now, by the end, once we hit like Return of the Jedi, obviously that had kind of lessened up a bit because they realized acting like they're heavy doesn't really lead to super fun fights.
Yeah.
So they kind of got rid of it. And then in this new trilogy, they went back to it. And like they kept on trying to like adopt real world sword styles and sword techniques in lightsaber duels. And it's like, that's
That the actors never learned how to
dumb.
actually use.
And yeah, and the actors never learned actual sword fighting techniques. So it's like you're trying to mimic a style that not only the actors are unfamiliar with, but isn't practical within the universe and the setting.
Yeah, the amount of times that people were like puttying around, like waiting for their cue to come in and get smoked.
It was like an old school. It was like an old school, like Adam West, goon fight.
It's you guys know where the term puttying comes from?
Yeah.
No.
Power Rangers, the
Yeah,
putties.
the putties.
So they would
I
like
don't know if they
stand.
can say goon anymore.
They would stand there. What do you mean? Oh, freaking gooners. But yeah, they would stand there and like have like these weird movements to like simulate that they were getting ready for an attack, and just like so like wouldn't look weird that they were just like standing there. And then that was where the term puttying came from. So it's like a series of like nonsensical movements of like simulating the character doing something without actually doing anything in a fight scene.
That's right. They would all hop around sideways with their hands in the air, jazz handing. Like that's what they were doing. They would make the little noise.
I'm just imagining Crab Rave now.
Yes, that's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, basically.
That okay? The guy, he has a video game. It's a crab fighting. It's a crab combat game. I think it's multiplayer.
I have seen this game.
Yeah,
It's like crab fights.
crab fight. Yeah, I think it's crab fight.
Yeah. Yeah, crab fight. Yeah. I've seen this game. It looks hilarious.
The game I'm waiting for is the Dino Fight game.
Oh yeah.
It's just one.
Yeah, where it started off as a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. He was just making like dino fight animations with like swords and battle axes.
Oh yeah. No, I remember seeing some of those animations.
And he just made them as a joke, and then people were like,
Mhm.
I'd play a game. I'd play this if it was a game. And
Yeah.
enough people like bombarded his feeds with it, and he was like,
I mean,
I
feel
guess I'll
like
make
the
it into a
models
game.
and the animations are half of the like half of the work right there with a combat game.
Yeah, basically.
And you're just one dude making the game.
Yeah. I mean, hell, that's been doing well lately. Lethal Company's one guy.
One of the greatest games I've ever played, Stardew Valley, is one guy.
Is one person.
Undertale was one guy.
Undertale, it was Toby Fox, right?
As
I
Thor
know, I'm
says,
pretty
you just
sure-
need to have a good idea and just make the game.
Yeah. Hollow Knight, it was a very small team of like 3 people.
There's I think it's Iron Rebellion is a online PvP mech VR game, and it's developed by 3 people. And it is one of the best mech games I have played.
I miss good old Mech Warrior. I miss like a good
Armored
mech
Core.
game.
Armored Core 6. If you haven't played it yet, you should.
Is it that good?
It's good. I like it.
Really? Hmm.
Some people has called it
No.
Armor Souls.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, like if you think about it, like the first couple Armored Core games were very much in that vein.
Yeah,
of, like, they were
because that was the
massively
thing. Is like
difficult.
when Armored Core 6 came out, a lot of people were like big mad that it was hard.
Yeah.
Because
that's-
it was so long since the first couple Armored Cores where it was like just as hard. It was like backbreakingly
Just as
hard.
hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember it being pretty like fairly hardcore on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
They came out so long ago that the people who were complaining about the Armored Core 6 being hard weren't alive when the first Armored Core came out.
Sometimes like FromSoft in particular is this developer that I get so protective of because I've played their games for years and years, and like people are like, oh, they don't do this, and it's like, no, then don't play it, leave them alone. They know what they're doing. They've made successful games for a steadily growing community. They don't
Isn't it-
need to do whatever the hell it is you want them to do.
Wasn't there a rumor that Sony is trying to buy them?
They did, and they got about 10% of the company.
Ooh.
So not nearly enough as it's not the doomsday scenario that people thought it was going to be.
Okay.
So they can't lock it behind the Sony sign-in experience.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't have enough stake to really have any sort of
Except that they'll never let Bloodborne go off of PlayStation.
They are just teasing us constantly with a Bloodborne remaster. Constantly. The fact that they put it into what was it? What was the game? What was the game that Sony had? All Stars? Or is that what it was called?
There
I don't know.
is an
game-
independent company working on. It's a very small team, but it's a Mario Kart based. It's a Bloodborne themed Mario Kart game, essentially.
Yeah,
What is it?
Born Kart.
Blood Kart. Yeah, Born Kart. Yeah, that's it.
Porn cart, yeah. Yeah. That's been in the works for a while.
I'm surprised they haven't gotten nuked yet. I really hope they don't. They're probably not a
Yeah,
threat
that's
yet.
been around. It's been around.
Okay. Yeah.
No, they won't get nuked because if anything, Sony will let them make the game, and then if it's a hit, they'll buy them and then lock it behind a PSN. Because that's what Sony does now, apparently.
I mean, yeah.
They're the Netflix of game publishing.
Oh, I do not like that.
Oh yeah, no, it's horrible, isn't it? They take successful IPs and then they cancel them.
I Shit, you're
They
right.
don't even have to be successful.
Yeah, no, you're not
Yeah, they don't
wrong.
even have to be successful. They'll just cancel it.
And then meanwhile, they'll
After
just
spending
completely,
$400 million on it.
they'll
Concord.
they'll just reprint Horizon
Yeah.
over and over again.
And yeah. How much money is Todd Howard falling asleep into every goddamn night from from Skyrim? It's been 15 years.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little less now, and it's certainly more than Starfield was getting them. It seems.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Skyrim in space?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it were Skyrim in space, it would be good.
Or at least playable.
Listen, I was excited about that game, and I had the early access, and I played through it, and I played through a bunch, and I'm like, oh, this is. I might need to give this some time to cook.
I feel bad for you because I knew like from the very beginning before like when he was announcing stuff like that it wasn't going to be good.
My expectations were in the ground, and they were still not low enough.
Bethesda can't get any of their games to work at launch. What makes you think that they'll have like millions of worlds that you can explore?
I talk about a company I've lost all faith in.
I have a couple. There's just no like if there's a game that comes out, actually at this point, most games I'm not going to spend money on them for the first year they're out.
Yeah, there's just the first year is
too high a risk.
The first year is just a beta test.
Well, yeah, I mean, on top of that, in a lot of cases, since they're mostly like live services now, I don't want to spend money on something that's not going to last over a year. If it lasts over a year, it might last longer than that. Okay, now I can buy that cosmetic if I really, really want it, and it's not egregiously expensive. But I'm not going to bother with that in the first 12 months because how many of those have been closing? It's a lot of them. Suicide Squad is getting closed. Like their support is getting closed after a certain point, I think.
Shut up. No, it's not. Is it really?
Yep. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a dead game.
They released all 4 of the seasons. Yeah, they released all 4 of the seasons of content that they had planned. And that's it.
Yeah, they announced that like half a year ago too.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they announced that over the summer before like all of the season had like all the seasons that they had finished releasing or even released. Because they just didn't have any player base. Nobody was playing the game.
That is insane.
That's $200 million down the drain. Well, same thing with Skull and Bones. Wow. They spent $200 million and flushed it down the drain because they couldn't figure out that people didn't want the game that they were making.
Yeah.
It was very easy to make the game that people wanted, which is just the sailing part of Black Flag. That's all we wanted.
Yep.
We don't want live service. We don't want like
quadruple A
mobile game like style of gameplay.
We just want the sailing part of Black Flag.
Yeah. We want to sail around.
You could have given us the same game with just a different lead character. Like you could have just swapped out the character model. We probably wouldn't have cared.
You know, I never played Black Flag, but I do remember watching it being played, and I just remember it was just long stretches of time of them on a boat singing shanties.
Yep. That's what we wanted.
I'm not gonna lie, that game is one of the reasons I want to learn how to sing a bunch of shanties. Like memorize a bunch of shanties. I will never be able to sing them with anyone because I can't sing.
That's the great part about shanties. You don't need to know how to sing.
Yeah,
I also have to have friends who know shanties.
Like, I thought that was the whole thing with shanties is that it required literally no musical effort or ability.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. That's like one of my couple of my favorite videos. Is just there's a shanty band out there that would just go around Sea of Thieves singing shanties at people.
Oh yeah.
They would just be on an open mic and just sail around, find people, and sing shanties.
Have you guys seen the series of videos about John Anti-Cheat?
No.
No.
It's this guy who runs around Sea of Thieves, and his name is John Anti-Cheat, and as he purports, he is a employee of Rare, and he goes around, he boards people's ships, non-threateningly, non-aggressively, and runs around their ships and tries to sniff out cheaters, dirty, rotten cheaters.
That sounds like a really good job.
It is
That sounds like a
hilarious.
community manager with extra steps. I'm still here for it.
Yeah, the people who went around singing shanties at people is called the Longest Johns.
Oh, I've actually they have a spot. I mean, they have all Spotify. They're like actual musicians.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and their whole thing is sea shanties. And they would just
I did
sail
not know
around.
I did not know it was the Longest John's doing that. That's amazing.
They would sail around and sing shanties. And some people didn't know what they were up to, so they would fire upon the ship, and then they would get close, and then just hear them singing shanties over open mic and going, "All right, I guess you have assuaged my my bloodthirst."
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves is a game that I look at and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'd love to find out.
I have it. It is a lot of fun. I've only gotten to play it off and on because I was never really in the mood to do the PvP stuff because, like, I remember there were more than a few times that me and a couple of friends were just trying to get our like standard mission. We're not trying to mess with anyone. We're just trying to get our missions done. And like we'd be dealing with like, I don't know, a set of like skeletons or something already, and we're just kind of grinding up. And like we'd get another player ship just come over and just absolutely body us for no goddamn reason.
Welcome to
And I'm like,
PvP.
I don't need this.
It feels
So
like
honestly, the
Pirate
fact,
Rust.
yeah, no, pretty much it was Pirate Rust. Now here's the thing: the fact that they released a PvE only mode not too long ago, I'm honestly thinking about jumping back in, messing around.
The only problem that Sea of Thieves really suffered from was it suffered from the same thing that No Man's Sky suffered from. It's an incredibly ambitious project that they released bare bones.
Oh yeah, they have added a lot of stuff in the last few years.
Had to like slowly build upon it over time. Which is frustrating.
Speaking of, I still pop into No Man's Sky fairly regularly in VR and experience the expeditions that they do.
Yeah, I just
I've
never
heard
could
No
get
Man's
into
Sky is like unrecognizable from its release date.
Oh, it is.
because its early
They have
state
added
was
so much stuff.
fly to planet, laser rock, fly to next planet.
Oh, I remember that game's release date. It was rough.
You can have a personal mech suit now.
See, that's kind of cool.
You can have a fleet. You can have a freighter. I think they might be. I don't remember what they just added. Like whole water physics stuff from their other game they're developing. They're still adding new tech to it from the new game that they're developing because they a lot of the code is shared. So, like, it's still getting ridiculous amounts of updates, like regularly.
Like, I know why it happens, but like, why do games just like not release finished anymore?
Shareholders.
Yeah. And because they don't have to. Because we haven't punished them for doing it.
Yeah, that's really kind of the problem. Pre-orders. Once they get the money, like they're done. They don't care. And if you if you've given them money before the game is even out, that tells them it does not matter what your response to the game is. You are going to buy it anyway. It's our fault. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
I will
don't.
wait for reviews at this point.
Yeah, I don't buy. I don't pre-order.
No.
Like
I don't
used
do early
to,
access
like
anymore
I
either.
used to do that shit. Like I honestly did, but no, I can't. Like it's just not worth it anymore.
I do early access depending on the company. So if the company has like a proven track record of like the promise of early access is like early access, like Path of Exile, Grinding Gear Games is a great example. Is like you know what you're getting into with a GGG early access that you have to pay to get into. You know that you're
Yeah,
getting in
I
there to like really like stress test their game.
That's true. And I guess, and I can't say that I don't do early access because I do early access for some games. Like if I had the money, I would absolutely be playing Ashes of Creation right now.
Can you even like there's a whole controversy that's going on right now with Ashes of Creation.
Really?
Yeah. So was it a couple weeks ago? They released the desert biome update, and somebody made a whole like video on like complaining about like how there was like nothing in the desert biome. Like it was just like you think of the Sahara Desert, and that's what you get that's what he showed in his video. But all he did was go to the edge of the map and like look out into the nothingness.
Oh.
And be like, they didn't add the desert biome. They didn't add anything that they promised in the desert biome update. Meanwhile, the developer was like went and into the active game and was like, here's the desert biome that we made. Here's an enemy. Here's enemies that you fight. Here's stuff to do. Here's another player that I found. Have a Christmas hat.
Yeah, see, I feel like that game's gonna be good when it comes out. I really do. It's just to get access, like you have to pay like $120 right now, and that's a little bit too steep for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to spend $30 on Path of Exile 2 because I know what I'm getting into. Getting into one of the greatest ISO RPGs. Because I always maintained that the first Path of Exile is the actual successor to Diablo 2. It's what Diablo 3 wanted to be. Should have been. But instead we got Diablo 3.
And Diablo 4.
I'm not 100% sure I've ever played an actual Diablo game.
I haven't.
They're fun. They are definitely... They're fun. They're one of my more favorite video game genres.
I feel like they were fun. I don't know if people would call them fun still.
Yeah,
like
like
they
they were
were
fun
fun.
back in 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then, because I consider it going 1-2 Path of Exile 2. That's the progression of Diablo. 3 and 4 don't exist in that world. In that, because they made it. From what I remember, like Diablo 3 happened during the whole like babyfication of Blizzard games, where they just made everything easy because they were like losing player base on like all of their games, so they just made everything like so everything could be played by a 6-year-old.
I feel like they definitely, like their art style across the board got a lot more cartoony.
Yeah, because it started with was Cataclysm the big like talent reset? I'm pretty sure it was the big talent reset, like where they went from like the hardcore talent trees to like, here's the talent line, You just go down, you pick your line and go down the line.
Yep.
Because I remember, I'm pretty sure that's why I left World of Warcraft the first time around, was because they announced like what they were going to do, all the changes to it, and I went, nah, I'm done. The best part of Wrath of the Lich King is like the experience of building a build,
Yeah.
of like
And
experimenting
especially
with
'cause Wrath,
things.
like, a lot of the builds were viable.
Yeah, like the Elemencer, or the Enhancer shaman build, which is
Okay, I don't know if I would quite go that far,
you
but
go
sure.
you go halfway down the elemental and the enhancement trees, and you just become a murderer in battlegrounds.
Why do you? Yeah, in battlegrounds, yes. In battlegrounds, yes, that would absolutely slaughter in battlegrounds. Well, not so much in raiding, but
And that's how you get the tank shaman builds, which were ridiculous.
I absolutely have the lowest playtime in any World of Warcraft game out of the three of us.
Because you got the Cataclysm like reset into like baby game. We got Diablo 3, which was just Diablo, like cartoonified Diablo for babies. And then you got HOTS, which was just League, but for babies.
which they've also shut down now.
Good, because nobody was playing it, because nobody wanted to play.
Yeah, no, really.
There was like
gone.
there was like no reason to play HOTS.
And lost, of course, you have less time logged into WoW. Like, I ran a guild for 4 years.
I played at one point. You could play up into a certain level for free. I played an undead necromancer up until that level, and then I didn't want to pay them $15 a month.
Oh God. I apparently on the hardcore server there's a guild now called Only Fangs, and I've been watching a couple of their like guild politicking and like negotiations and stuff like that. And I watch it and I'm like, oh man, I miss this. I miss when I was having conversations like this.
Is that Thor's guild?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the guild that he's in. It's
Yeah.
not his guild, but yeah. They just had their leader. They had their leader die like a couple weeks ago.
Oof.
And so he transferred GM to someone who is a fucking wild card. And it's been very funny to watch.
I both miss and don't miss guild politics.
It's
Those
a
were
weird dichotomy.
Guild politics are wild.
The amount of conversations I've had to have with grown men who are upset that they didn't get a packet of pixels. It is both some of my life's most shameful and most proudest moments.
I feel like that's just like large chunk confetti.
The pressure of making rules, knowing that you could break them in the future if you need to, but if you do, then it so good.
I think one of my worst decisions in WoW was joining a friends and family guild, knowing like one person in the guild. That was terrible.
Yeah, if you only know one person in the guild, then yeah, that's it's not the best idea.
And then I just kind of like abandoned the game without telling anybody. Sorry, Mara.
Yeah, no problem. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. You didn't. It's not like you had a permanent slot on the team. Your slot was always very much in flux, and I was aware of that. I built around it.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I joined another raiding guild as well.
Yeah, you did join another raiding guild.
Don't know why.
Did you even raid with them?
Yeah, I raided with our guild on, was it Tuesdays and was it Wednesday, Thursday? I forget the
Wednesday,
schedule.
Thursday,
Wednesday,
yeah.
Thursday, and then I raided with the other guild on what is it? When did I? Fridays? I raided with them on Fridays, I believe. They were like, when I first joined them, they were like a super casual, like, let's just mess around and have fun kind of guild.
And then it always changes. It always
then,
shifts.
Then they went, let's try raiding. And I went, okay, I'll help you out because I know what the fuck I'm doing in raids. I'll give you pointers and help you out and do whatnot. And then like they started getting into raiding, and I'm like, I don't have time for 2 raiding guilds.
Agreed. You run a couple successful raids. People get a couple pieces of gear. Maybe you yourself get a piece of gear, and you're like,
Cause that's all it was. Like, cause it was just a casual like pug raiding guild. Cause like the original name of the guild was a straight pug in it.
Oh yeah, I
So
remember them.
So we just decided to do like pug raids on like Fridays and Saturdays. If we got people, we got people. If we didn't, oh well, too bad.
Yeah, just whoever's fuck around.
Yeah, let's go like beat up on a pretty easy raid, and that's our weekend, and talk shit to each other.
Never enough. Never enough. There always has to be more.
Yep. And then once again, of course, my character was always in flux in that guild because it was a, hey, I picked yet another class that can do everything. And they're like, hey, if you don't go this spec, we don't raid.
You know what? You shamans, you always complain about having to carry extra sets of gear. I think you all secretly like it.
We do. It's the thing we very vocally complain about, but we love complaining about it.
Like, it's a very fine line between complaining and bragging.
Yeah. We disguise the bragging with complaining. Although
especially in a wrath environment where you can swap your talents and stuff on the fly. Like,
although it did get kind of infuriating when my off spec started to get better gear than my main spec.
Yeah.
Gets really annoying.
I miss it.
It gets really annoying, but just for no other reason than the gear just doesn't drop. I had that problem the first time around.
It was so much better.
Yeah, I had the same problem in the first time around in Wrath, where like I was enhancement resto, and nothing but resto gear would drop. So I had like full tier gear in resto, and it was just like, and then I'm running around in blues and enhancement.
It was so funny. Like, kitted out in resto. You're like dungeon prepits in your main spec.
That happened in a pickup run in my first time around in Wrath, where we were in Ulduar. We were doing a pug weekly run into Ulduar. And I was the only healer that they had found, just completely decked out in like my best Ulduar guild resto stuff. And I'm like, guys, we don't need to find another healer. I got this. And I did got that. There was they picked up another resto druid or something like that, and you looked at the healing charts, it was like 95%. I did like 95% healing. There were
a lot of fights in there where like you chain heal was so good.
Yeah. And the only person I let die was the Ret Paladin, because
They deserved it.
fuck them guys.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Yeah,
He deserved it.
he's a red paladin. He deserved it.
Exactly. He's a ret paladin. They always deserve it.
He spiked his threat and he died. I could have healed him. I didn't.
And well, I guess with that, we should stop reminiscing about the glory days and inform everybody that you have yet again wasted another perfectly fine hour listening to today's theme, which I guess we had a very loose theming.
I wonder why you
Um,
listened to the whole thing.
I wonder, I wonder why you listened to the whole thing. Tell us below in the comments as to why you've listened to the whole thing. If you've made it this far, if you have made it this far, congratulations. If you have any things that you're also wondering about that you are just too lazy to Google yourself, instead of typing it into a Google search bar, type it below, and we'll see if we can use collective intelligence to, answer questions at least to some reasonable degree.
Or just spout ridiculous bullshit nonsense.
While you're down there, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe, and it really helps out the show and the channel as well. Thank you for listening. I have been Mara.
I've been Asher.
I've been lost or not.
You cheese bags stay fresh.
Happy fresh cheese. New year
Yeah,
fresh
happy
cheese.
fresh cheese.
New year fresh cheese.